Hello, social studies teachers of Maine. I wish I could be with you in person today. I wasn't able to do that, but I'm very happy to be able to greet all of you. Now, your commitment to your profession and to your students is really important. We need educators like you, educators who realize how important civics is to teaching young people how they're going to become part of our society as time goes on. And thanks also to Christy Littlefield for inviting me to make these remarks and to be with you today, at least in this fashion. I also want to extend thanks to Judge Lipez and to Barbara Anderson for all of their hard work in making this happen today. Now, civics education isn't what it once was when I was young and going to school in El Paso, Texas, but we are getting back on the right track in part when it comes to teaching young people about how our government works. And that's really important. We have good programs, including in Maine and other states and places such as you are in today. It seems to me that more states are presently starting to adopt laws and guidelines to finally promote again some civic learning among the students, including in Maine, where there's a recent law that requires civics to be included in the social studies requirements for graduation. Now that's a really big step and a good one, but we can do more. I had a question from a teacher from Maine asking me why civic education is so critical. Well, there are many reasons for that, but it comes down to one basic fact. No matter whether as a young person we grow up to become a teacher, a Supreme Court justice, a doctor, an auto mechanic, or a game designer, we do all grow up to be one thing. We're going to be citizens of our state and our country. And knowledge about how government works and how people are part of the system is not something we just inherit through the gene pool. It has to be learned, and it has to be taught when we're in school. And that's one of the reasons that I founded this program called iCivics, this website that I hope you've been using. And when I stepped down and retired from the Supreme Court, I was very conscious of the lack of civics education in our country. And Americans, including our young people, need to be taught how government works and how they're part of it. I wanted to help restore some form of civics education in all of the states of the United States. And so when I was asked about how we could make civics more engaging, it seemed to me that young people spend about 40 hours a week in front of some kind of screen, TV or otherwise, and what we needed to do was just plan on using about an hour of that time every week, that's all I need, and use it to teach civics. And so with that in mind, we got some people together to produce some games, because what do young people like to do with free time on a website? Play games. That's what engages them. And iCivics now has 17 games on that website. And the students can play those games and play the role of being President of the United States, or a senator in the U.S. Senate, or being a judge. They have all kinds of ways of playing the role of some of the people that make our government work as it does. And by playing games and using the iCivics website, they aren't just learning some dry set of rules and regulations. The young people are taking on a role to understand what it means to be a citizen, and an engaged citizen at that. One student wrote to me to say that he really had been using iCivics and he liked the game he'd been playing. It was called Executive Command. And in that game, the student said being president was stressful, and I'm not sure I want to be stressed out like that and elected to another term. I've seen many of the questions that you submitted, and I was pleased to see so many are questions about the issues facing our country today and about how the Constitution and the courts play a role. And these are important questions. And it's up to each one of us as citizens in this country to think about these issues and to understand them. I'm not going to be able to go into specifics on many of the issues you've raised, but what you might not know is that although I'm retired from the Supreme Court, I have not retired from being a judge. I still am privileged to sit and hear cases with the federal courts of appeal all across the country. I'm riding circuit, and that term comes from the earliest days in our country when Supreme Court justices literally were assigned to hear cases in a particular geographic region, or circuit as they were called, and they literally had to go by horseback or horse and buggy around the country to sit in on cases in the geographic area to which they were assigned. And today, I no longer have to get on a horse to go around the country and hear cases, but I still travel from one spot to another and hear some cases at the Federal Court of Appeals level. And that's interesting because while they aren't cases at the U.S. Supreme Court anymore, they are cases that may come to the court. I don't comment on the issues that come or likely to come to the Supreme Court. That's not appropriate for a former justice or a judge who's now sitting. But I'm hoping that you will take your questions back to your classrooms and your teachers and engage in conversations about the important topics of how courts and legislatures and presidents go about making decisions about the really hard issues. I hope you will use the resources at iCivics.org, including the games we have for you to play and the lessons we've developed to help you have these conversations. I'm proud of what the teachers in Maine are accomplishing in educating new generations of citizens. And you here today are a critical part of what's next, restoring the civic mission of schools and helping the next generation of young people become informed and engaged citizens. I hope and know that you're in for a good conference. Thank you, and I wish I could be with you.